G'day viewers, today on I Fucking Told You, we have that foolish little Meninist boy who a couple of weeks ago got a lot of publicity for tweeting something as stupid as there should be a tax on tampons because they're a luxury item. If women don't want to pay for tampons, they should just hold their bladders. And of course there was layer upon layer upon layer of things wrong with that. And then he was interviewed by an online news outlet, and it turned out that he was stupid about another couple of things. And I started to smell a rat. And I said, no, someone somewhere is bullshitting. Someone's trying to make a point. I wasn't 100% sure if the online site had faked something. I thought it was most likely that the guy in question was faking something. But I was pretty sure this was not on the level. And on the weekend, he contacted me and went, aha, you picked it. Yes, it was in fact a hoax. He said that when he found out about the tampon tax, he agreed it was terrible, and he thought, how can I raise the profile? He thought, get people talking. Say something outrageous in favour of the tampon tax, and everyone will go off and start talking. And he was certainly right about that. I'm still not sure about faking something for attention. Certainly there's been lots of cases of people bringing something to everyone's attention by doing something that's not real. And it's just that while you do get some attention, I don't think it's a good long-term strategy. Short-term tactic can be quite effective. Long-term strategy, I don't think you end up benefiting from it. So who knows what will happen to him. But I also wanted to bring this up, not just because it's interesting in and of itself, but because in general, hoaxes happen all the time and people are far too gullible. And now with Trump getting elected US president, someone whose entire campaign was built on lies and false information, and huge amount of the online stories put about during the campaign were completely falsified, not just by him and his supporters. There are several that were about him, negative things about him that were circulated widely that were utterly false. And what frustrates me is it was so easy to find out these things were false. Like, there's a quote that's been going around for at least a year or two, probably since he announced he was running for president, a picture of him from the 90s with a quote where he said if he ever ran for president, he'd run as a Republican, because he had been a registered Democrat, but he said he'd run as a Republican because Republican voters were the most stupid and easy to fool. And it was attributed to an interview he did in the 90s. Now, that was disproved ages ago. Basically, as soon as it first started circulating, people said, no, he never actually said that. That is not even taken out of context. It is completely false. The person who originally started that deliberately made up a lie, and because that lie fed into a lot of people's preconceptions, they were very quick to share it. And I could kind of forgive people who were sharing it a year or two ago, but it's been debunked for a long time. And even just this last week, just pre the election and post the election, I saw people posting and going, no! A really short web search would show that that's not true. Why don't people ever check? I have made the mistake myself in the past, so I know it's easy to make you get inflamed and go, that right there. And then I end up really angry at the person who made up the deliberate lie. And there was one just after the election. There's a Trump tweet, not about Trump, not by Trump, that was being retweeted by a lot of progressive people. And I was like, oh my God, there's someone that said, look, I'm outside the Trump building and all these people singing these really racist songs about how much they hate people who aren't white. And people were just uncritically retweeting it like, oh, aren't these people awful? And I thought, ugh. And I just, because, it was a tweet, so I just went back to the thing that was being retweeted, looked at the original account, and the profile had these pro-Trump slogans. And I thought, odd. And I went through his feed, and he's a Trumpolo, and he had started posting completely false but very negative things about Trump supporters to fool those silly liberals. So they'd be circulating things that weren't true, and so then you could say everything they said wasn't true. And while that guy is a fuckwit, the fact that people didn't even do just the most minimal checking, like who is the person who tweeted this? Are they credible? It took me 5 seconds to realise it wasn't credible, but so many people retweeted it. I mean, for God's sake, a day or two after, major newspaper in Australia, The Age, actually reprinted this uncritically as a true thing. Now, this had been thoroughly debunked up to this point. If you searched for this online, one of the first things you will find is this isn't true. So a major newspaper uncritically printed a tweet as truth that would have taken them 5 seconds to find out wasn't true. And this is the thing, sometimes you have to swallow your preconceptions. Sometimes when something just perfectly fits into your worldview, that's when you need to be cautious. That's when you need to look into it a bit. See, when you see these things, I'm not saying they'll all be untrue, but for instance, after Trump's election, there was a terrifying wave of bigotry and hate across the US. Abuse, verbal and physical attacks on it. People who are not straight and white, reported from all over. And of course, then people started making false reports, both of being attacked by Trump supporters and Trump supporters making false claims saying they were attacked. People made up lies on both sides. See, people make these accusations up for a lot of reasons. To try and prove a point, for personal gain. Big newsflash, everyone. Every crime on the books has a false reporting rate. It's like MRAs and other women haters say this show, oh, because there are some false rape reports, no rape reports should be taken seriously. Rape is actually reported falsely at a much lower rate than other crimes. But all crimes get false reports for a whole bunch of reasons. So when you see these reports, and more so than usual, I mean, all of history is full of these hoax reports, but when there's now a US presidential cabinet that is built on lies, and he's got this big online army who are very practiced in lying, it's going to take a bit more effort. When you see things online, if you can't find a reputable news source, and here's a hint, Breitbart, not reputable, InfoWars, not reputable, and you would need more than one to feel comfortable, because the biggest, most mainstream news outlets have been caught out repeatedly printing rumours as truth because they're in such a rush to be the first to get out there. Fact checking's just gone out the window. So all I'm saying is, using these as examples, don't be so quick to spread things online. At least take the 5 seconds to do a web search. Because seriously, if you do this, even if you're a friend of mine, even if the politics behind what you're doing is right on, and I completely agree, if you don't take the 5 seconds to do an even cursory search on a topic before you start regurgitating stories that you found online, tweets that you've seen, I'm judging you, and I'm judging you harshly.